Hi there, it's Ron Gula from Gula Tech Adventures. Today we're going to talk about how you too can use the term DataCare in daily life. Now, DataCare was a term my wife Cindy came up with when we were talking about all the different, nonprofits that we're associated with, the Gula Tech Foundation, and how just people in our industry have a hard time connecting with the general public. And it really comes down to the point that nobody really knows what cybersecurity is. Now, we've been getting a little bit more attention with DataCare. We recently had USA Today did a piece on digital divide, and I was able to be interviewed for that and talk about DataCare. We also had Jen Easterly talk about DataCare in a recent Cybersecurity 202, where she was talking about Geek Speak. Well, what I'm going to do today is kind of walk through all the different things I've kind of seen people in cybersecurity do, talking with the general public. So first, if you ever get a chance to talk to elementary school, middle schoolers, these kids don't know what an operation center is, security operations center, or what a red team is. They don't know. They might have heard about hacking and ransomware and stuff, but these kids have phones. And the best way to try to connect with them using a term like DataCare is to kind of make it more personal. So do they have, if you ever get a chance to talk to a class like this and you're trying to get people interested in this career field, always keep in mind when you're playing the DataCare card to make it personal. So these kids have phones. They're starting to get phones. They have concepts of privacy, like would you want your brother or sister, looking at your phone, or could the phone be taken away from you? Is it a privilege? Now, as you get a little bit older and you start talking about kids in high school, DataCare is a very, very important term. Again, cybersecurity is a hard term to connect with people. If you're talking to kids in high school, they're starting to think about a career. Now, what does a career in DataCare look like? Oh, it looks a lot like a career in IT. It looks like a lot like a career in programming. It's a very broad career. Whenever you're going in, you're going to have to take care of data. It's going to be a responsibility. Of course, you can also start thinking about cybersecurity careers. A lot of times I talk to kids in high school and they say, I get the eye roll. Oh, I don't want to go into cybersecurity. Too many computers, too many white males, too many whatevers. And if you start talking about in broader terms of what's out there, you can appeal a bit more. Now, also at the high school layer, I think everybody in high school, is going to have a phone, a social media account. They're going to have apps on their phone. They're also going to start dealing with things like payroll. How do they get paid? Is there an online bank? Are there apps that they would be, couldn't do without? All of that is ways you can have a connection with that generation. Now, when you get to college, this is where kids are starting to learn about what sort of job they're going to have. Now, when you speak DataCare to a computer programmer, they might not be thinking about cybersecurity and attackers, but you can really pitch the responsibility angle on DataCare. No matter what people are learning, whether it's accounting, agricultural, manufacturing, computers and the internet is involved with every aspect of that. Trying to be very, very clear and precise about their role and understanding that they have a responsibility to protect the data of their industry that they're in is definitely good. And if you're talking to cybersecurity people, you also need to talk to them in terms of DataCare, because a big part of cybersecurity, a big problem we have is communicating outwards. So I've had a lot of chances to go in and speak with cybersecurity classes, cybersecurity students at the college level, and they resonate with that DataCare. They say, it's hard for them to talk about what they're learning in school with their peers. It's just not something that everybody knows. Now, when you get out of schools and talking to kids, you have a lot of different opportunities in daily life to speak DataCare to different industries. I've got an example, small business here. Now, a lot of times small business, right now the big thing they're worried about is ransomware. But, the reality is every business, even small business, has an IT footprint. Who is in charge of your email? Who's in charge of your web brand? Who's in charge of your DNS servers? These are, typically not the kind of conversations that you have with your local small business. But if you do get the chance to meet people socially, professionally, in economic development groups and whatnot, it's a good thing to bring up. Speak it in terms of DataCare. It kind of makes that personal responsibility a little bit more front and center, and not something that they just give to their outsourced IT group, and it's a problem they need to manage. That small business people definitely have a responsibility in deciding what they're protecting, what they're outsourcing, and how it impacts their customers. Now, a lot of times I see folks in our industry, they get involved with nonprofits. And a lot of times nonprofits will say, hey, we don't have money, we don't have funding, we don't have people. And it's kind of, they still have the responsibility to protect the data that's involved with those nonprofits. There have been some big stories about nonprofits getting their entire sort of customer or the people that they're supporting, those lists have been compromised. And that can be weaponized against them, whether you're dealing with, perhaps an abortion clinic, perhaps a refugee from Ukraine. These are dramatic things going on in the world right now. And, we need to make sure that these nonprofits have everything they can to protect the data that they're working with. Now, having said that, almost every cybersecurity company that I'm associated with has some sort of freemium, non-profitable, charitable donation that's out there. So if you're volunteering at a nonprofit and they sort of say, hey, it's cybersecurity is not important. We don't have budget. We don't have that. It's a really good opportunity to bring up DataCare, to remind people that they do have a responsibility to protect the data of people that they're working with. And that can be in a lot of different forms of information depending on who you are. Now, last but not least is if you're an executive at a company and you're on the board of a company, cybersecurity is something that a lot of organizations struggle with because they just don't know what it means. What are the risks they have? Putting things in terms of DataCare makes it a lot more approachable to other board members who might not be technical in nature. They might put it in a lot more terms from a legal point of view, a responsibility point of view. And once you realize that no matter who you are and an executive, whether on the board, a CEO, a COO, a CFO, once you realize that you are somebody else's supply chain, people are depending on you. You are an IT footprint. You have an IT footprint. You need to make some decisions about the risk that you're assuming for your business, because those risk decisions could be magnified greatly if we had an actual cyber war, if you were ransomware. And, people, like I said, people are depending upon you. Sometimes playing the cybersecurity card can be a little too scary, a little too obtuse. How do you know when you're done? But the DataCare aspect of how am I actually protecting my data? What am I responsible for? And also understanding that if you're going to recruit people outside of cyber to come into cyber, doing this so where you can go into specifics, to minorities and places to hire is a great way to go with the DataCare message to try to bring more people into your organization to defend the data that you care about. Now, if you want to learn more about this, we've got a bunch of other DataCare videos and articles here at on the website and YouTube. And if you want to learn more about this kind of work that we're doing at Gula Tech Adventures and the Gula Tech Foundation, please be free to check out all of our other videos and subscribe to us here on YouTube or Vimeo or LinkedIn. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.